Okay, so the first thing that I want to point out is some basic vacuum maintenance. Here is how you take the filter off of this particular shop vac style of vacuum. We're going to take that filter outside. We're actually going to tap it out because there's a lot of buildup that's stuck in there. It may not look like it, but once you get outside and you tap it out, you'll see the dust just fly everywhere, and this really affects the suction of the vacuum and their overall life and health of the vacuum. So it's very important to always check this. And then also here's just the simplest way to figure out how to put this piece back together. The two areas that I pointed to, just line those up. And then also this is what direction the handle needs to be facing when you put the top back on. And then just line those orange pieces up where they're supposed to go, and then just snap them down and you are ready to roll. There's multiple reasons that your suction could be really poor, and here they are. Number one thing is dirty filter. I just showed you this in the previous clip of how to properly tap that filter out, and you want to make sure you do that every single time before you use the vacuum. With how caked this is, there's no way the vacuum would have worked properly had I not checked it before using.
Number two would be a hole in the bag. So you're going to see, I'm going to show it to you right here. So I didn't even use this yet. I went to check before I used it, which is what you want to do every time before you use it. There was a hole in the bag, and there's just shit everywhere inside the bag. That will kill the suction on your vacuum. That happens when we suck up screws out of the vents and things like that. So that's why I clear out all the stuff out of the vents. Third thing is if the bag is full. So you're going to want to obviously check this before use as well. All of these are things you need to check before you use them. If the bag is full, you are just going to lightly push down on the bag and you will feel the resistance. It'll be like 3/4 of the way full. I would change it at that point. I'm so sorry. I don't have a clip of me putting in a new bag here. I'm not sure what happened to it, but on the bags themselves, there's directions right on there. So you'll just follow those and pop a new bag on there and put the full old one in a garbage bag.
Okay, and then you just take the hose, screw that part on. Usually I kind of like shake the hose out a little bit too to make sure there's nothing stuck in there from the time before. And then I'm going to take the cord and plug it in somewhere like centrally located on whatever level I'm working on so that I don't have to keep plugging it in and unplugging it. It just saves a lot of time. Then I started pretty much at the same point that I did all the prep work at, one end of the level to the other. I'm just getting on the doors, specifically those paneled areas where there's a horizontal surface and the dust is going to be accumulating. Sometimes you might have to do the whole door. It just really depends on each house and really each section of the house. So on the front side of this door, it didn't look bad, but then when I shut the door, the whole back side of it was coated with dust. So I'm just going to vacuum the whole door like you see here. And you'll just have to use your discretion as well and just do what fits. If it's only those little panels that have the dust on them, get those. If it's the whole door that's coated, get the whole door. Okay, moving on. Then I just follow the trim, but when I see a vent, I stop and do that quick. I'm going to take the brush tool off because stuff just gets stuck in it. This way works way better and you can get deeper in the vent. I'm just going to clean the vent out as well as I can, and then when I'm done, I put that vent cover back on right away so then I know that I did the vent. Okay, moving along here, I'm just going to keep following the trim and going all the way around the room. You really just need to get the top ledge of the baseboards, not the entire baseboard itself. And you do want to make sure you vacuum the tops of all of these shelves in the closets. They can get pretty dirty. Then I also usually try and make it a point to vacuum the dowels that are in the closets too, because they oftentimes have lots of dust on them as well. And don't ask me why, for some reason, I lost the footage of me vacuuming the master bath. So we'll get footage of the other bathroom. Anyways, this is gonna go pretty much straight into the bedroom after this door is finished. And then here again, I noticed that actually both sides of this door were really bad, so they just had to be fully vacuumed. And here I just decided to get this part of the door frame really quick because I just noticed how coated it was. Typically you won't have to do that with door frames, but I guess it really all depends on where the dust is flying when they're building.
And you will make the vacuums last way longer if you use that other hand like I'm doing and pull the vac with you gently instead of yanking it along. It just really irks the cord and wears it out after a while.
All right, and then here I'm tightening that silver piece onto the hose again because it gets loose. If it gets really loose and you stick it in a vent, it can fall out in the vent, and then you're like sticking your whole arm down there to try to fish it out. Just make sure it's super secure before you stick it in any vent.
And those little pieces I just suck up so that the vacuuming part for the carpets is a lot easier for me when I get to that step.
And then here we are just vacuuming the inside and outside sills that we used a toothbrush on earlier. And then the windowsill frame area itself usually is really dusty. Right here, I took the brush part off. Sometimes it's better to just use that silver piece on the inside sills because so much crap gets stuck in the actual brush tool. So I've just put in a couple of clips here showing you that we go from one end of the level to the opposite end, just like we did in the prep step. We're just going to keep going, getting all the doors and trim, just really following that path. And then I do the windowsill last, which I didn't show here because I'm just showing a shortened version of things because you guys get the point. Now I'm in the hallway, so I had already done the third bedroom into the hallway. I make sure that I get the shelving inside the hallway as well because that stuff gets really dirty. And then I just keep plugging along until we get to the bathroom. All right, and then typically I do use the brush tool for the whole shower until I get to the bottom part of any tub or shower. There's typically still chunks and stuff that it would just work better if I took that brush tool off and used the silver part on there.
As long as you're super gentle,
You won't scratch anything on the tub.
Just make sure you're, gentle enough and careful enough and you'll be fine, but it's a lot more effective. It's just way faster.
You'll see me use the silver part, and then you'll see me put the brush tool back on once I pick up all the chunks and stuff, and I know they're not going to get stuck in the brush.
And then onto the toilet, because it's a new construction house and the toilet's not been used, you're totally fine to vacuum every horizontal surface on the toilet. You don't have to worry about germs. Do that, and then I also vacuum the part where the water connects to either the wall or the floor. I always vacuum that off, and then I just keep going with the trim and the other woodwork here. This lip by the mirror is notorious for dust. So don't ever mess that, otherwise it's gonna make your job a lot harder when you're at the scrubbing stage with the vanity. And something else that I didn't show here that I normally do is I will vacuum on top of the mirror, like the top ledge of the mirror, because it's really dusty from installing light fixtures. And it can make for a really difficult time when you go to glass clean the mirror and a bunch of dust starts falling and smearing all over the glass everywhere.
Cabinet facings are just like the doors. You're only going to get exactly where you need to. And you can see all the dust that's coming off right now from me vacuuming this. So the door is really fully needed to be done instead of just doing those little panels.
And once you do the cabinet facings, I open up each drawer and door and I get the hinges where the doors are connected along with that little tiny back panel on the back side of the door, and then make sure you get inside the shelving really good on every horizontal surface there because they can be really dirty, and again it just makes your job that much easier when you're washing woodwork. Alright, and then I'm wrapping up the back of the house here by just finishing out vacuuming the hallway, pretty much just the trim, so I can just make one swoop all the way around and be ready to do the second half.
don't forget the vents too.
Now here's the railings that we all love so much. I usually start from top to bottom as far as like the top part of the railing all the way to the bottom, just so I make sure that I don't miss any parts. But again, it's pretty much just the horizontal surfaces unless you're seeing a bunch of dust build up on the sides too. The real key is to get these iron rods vacuumed really well, especially that circular spindle part, because it makes the washing very easy. But you can see I just go up and down and just pretty much follow them and do a pattern. It's just the easiest way to make sure that I don't miss any, and also to make sure that I'm super efficient instead of just zigzagging all around. And then this bottom part is usually the last piece on a railing that I end up vacuuming. And then this whole part of the railing I do pretty much treat as one piece, and I do the exact same method as that top mini section on the upper level. I'm just gonna start really on the top part of the railing all the way down to the bottom.
With this weird triangular angle right there, I take the brush off and I set the silver part on there lightly because it sucks up all that extra debris that if you leave the brush tool on, it won't, and then it'll make washing it really hard. I know it seems like these railings take forever when you're doing them, but I promise you this definitely is the most efficient way that I have learned over the past almost 5 years of experience with cleaning them. Make sure that you work in a pattern, then you definitely won't miss any. Here, I did take the brush part off and I'm just using the silver part because it's really hard to get all the debris that builds up right in that particular area.
As long as you're super gentle and you're not scraping on the wood, you're gonna be fine. You're not gonna have a problem with scraping or doing any damage to the wood. All right, and then you're just going to continue on with all the trim and the horizontal surfaces. You are going to find some weird, awkward shelving like I did here in this living room that you're about to see. I did vacuum it all the way until I couldn't reach anymore, and then I hopped up there. I feel comfortable doing that, but if you do not, because it is, quite a height, then please just get a step stool and step up on one step and reach in as far as you can. Please just be safe.
And real quick, I just want to mention that I did vacuum the rest of the entryway when I did the staircase, but to save time for footage, I did not include that here.
And you'll see here too that I get everything as I'm going. I don't come back to any spots, so I'll do the trim up to a certain point and then make sure that I really hit those windowsills, vents, and anything else so I don't have to backtrack. I can pretty much just pop the brush tool off when I need to go in a vent and pop it right back on. Real quick, if there's a deck installed, don't forget to vacuum the part of the track when the door is open. I noticed these cabinet facings are really dusty, so I just went ahead and vacuumed all of them. It's just going to make the washing part a lot easier, and you're less likely to get like white streaking on the wood when it dries, which can happen a lot when you're dealing with dark wood. A lot of times have to rinse your rag quite often, so this really helps. And then obviously here you just saw me do the island countertop, which I'm going to do and go under things, and if there's any like screws or anything, I'm going to pick those up and throw them away so that I don't suck them up in the shop vac. And then I just went ahead with all the cupboards and everything on the island. And then just take all your cabinet facings like section by section. So I will do like drawer and then the cabinet below it all in one shot, and then I'll move to the next section. Make sure that you are vacuuming really thoroughly inside cabinets and drawers. You're probably gonna have to take off the brush tool quite a bit because depending on how dirty it is, some of them can be really bad, and it's just a lot more efficient to take the brush tool off. Also, make sure you're vacuuming these garbage containers and set them aside. Don't just put them back because we gotta wash them. We gotta wash inside the drawer. There's no point in putting them back, take them out to put them back again. And then this cabinet, for some reason, is usually always the dirtiest in every new construction house I've ever done, hands down. I always have to take my brush tool off when I'm doing the cupboard that the garbage receptacles go in. Make sure that you are extremely thorough. If you can't get in quite all the way, use the shark brush tool because it's got like a crevice tool and it can really get in between where the tracks are, in between that piece by the wall. This attachment can't always get in there depending on how it's installed. And we can't be leaving any dirt in there, it just looks like poopy.
What was that?
And there's what I was telling you about. The drawer is so dirty that I just took the brush tool off because it just made it so much easier. Okay, and then when you get to the top cabinets, we do have to wash the tops of the cabinets, and it's a lot of times super helpful if you vacuum them first because they can get really dirty. So utilize your step stool here. It's okay if you do have one foot on the countertop as well. It is a sturdy surface, so I'm not worried about it being unsafe. But I just do the very tops and then I go inside of all of them and just keep doing them like I did the other ones in the island and in the bathroom. Same thing. And don't forget the windowsill, it's sweater weather. And then you're just gonna move on to the countertops. Here, there's a lot of crap to vacuum up that's chunky, so I'm not gonna use the brush tool. I'm just being super careful. As long as you're super gentle, you're not gonna scratch anything, but just
Don't go wrenching that thing into nothing, okay?
for time's sake, I did not show the lowers on that section of cabinets, but I did them. We're just gonna vacuum all the shelving. Make sure you're really thorough. Otherwise, it's gonna suck having to wash them because you're gonna have to rinse your rag a million times.
Blah, blah, blah.
And this particular house was nice because they had the grates taken off of the stovetop, and I think they were being stored inside the oven so they didn't get all dusty. But in the event that they have grates on there, vacuum the grates first and take the grates off and then vacuum the stovetop just like I did.
And then anything that I find in drawers, I will take out and I will lay out and leave it on the countertop. And then once I start washing woodwork, I wash a certain drawer first, dry it out, and then put all that crap in there, all in one shot. And that's that, folks. So this is how you roll up the cord. You want to roll it up really, really super neat, please. And then attach this little hickey-do there, right there. And then you're going to set it outside because when we're done with something, we just want to get it out of our way so we don't have to move it a million times. And then pose for it. You're just going to roll up, set right back in the basket, and voila, you're done.